We're not always gonna have the luxury of knowing exactly what to do, what to say, where to go. We just have to start walking. Sometimes we're gonna be in the middle of a forest, and that forest is on fire. And every direction we look looks the exact same as another direction. But if we just stand in that same place, then we're never gonna make any progress. If we stand in that same place, nothing will ever look different. So we can't allow not knowing something. We can't allow the unknown to get in the way of us taking action and just making some moves. It's never gonna be a perfect situation where everything just lines up exactly how you imagined or hoped they would be. There actually are perfect situations, but our lenses are tainted to the point where we don't realize that it's the perfect situation. We expect it to look one way, and then it looks another way how God intended it to look. And since it doesn't look that way, it doesn't look our way, we miss the opportunity. We don't realize that we came across exactly what we were praying for because we had the wrong expectation. I was talking to God one night, and he was telling me that the only thing he needs from me is my obedience and my perseverance. Those are really the two most important things that we could possibly possess, because without them, where are we going to end up? Without obedience, we're not going to be walking in our calling. We're not going to fulfill the assignment that is perfect for us. We're always going to have that emptiness feeling. We're going to always feel unfulfilled because we're not listening. We're not paying attention. We're not obeying the one who, I think they know a little bit more about how our life should go. But for some reason, we would prefer to take our own way, which, we don't have our own way. We don't have a way. Because without the source, then we wouldn't exist. He gave us the purpose, right? And without perseverance, we're just going to quit. And no one can help a quitter. Without the perseverance, those trials and the tribulations, they're going to get in the way, and then they're going to stop us. We're not going to realize that those things that we face are actually the perfect things for us to face. There's nothing that you'll ever face that you can't overcome. If you weren't able to overcome it, God wouldn't have sent it your way, or God wouldn't have allowed it to happen. God wouldn't allow that situation to unfold to use it to his advantage. But the funny thing is about God, I know I made a video a bit back about it, is even if we are disobedient, even if we already have those self-imposed trials, even if we are the ones who are getting in our own way, God finds a way to actually use all of that in his favor and still write the perfect story. So once we have those two things, then we can just focus on walking. Then we can just focus on taking action, making moves. Because, okay, if I'm going to be obedient, if I'm going to persevere, then that means that he's going to steer the boat. That means that he's going to guide my steps. I'm going to be the one putting in the work, but he's going to be the one behind the scenes, making sure things go according to plan. And that's where the trust lies. That's where the faith comes in. A lot of these temptations, these trials, these situations we go through where it's very difficult, where we're struggling, where we're suffering, those are all just tests of faith to strengthen our spiritual muscles. As when we actually start to see these things as the way that they actually are, then we get to enable ourselves to embrace to experience a different kind of growth that we wouldn't experience prior. So if you don't know what to do right now, if you feel like you're lost, if you feel like everything is just pinned against you, just start walking. Know where your faith lies. Listen. Ignore the noise. Cut it out. You don't need it. Because the more noise there is, the more difficult it is to hear his voice, and the more difficult it is to obey. And then by extension, the more difficult it is to persevere. Because sometimes we forget where our power lies. You know, it's not in us. Like, we aren't the ones who are the source of the power. You know, Psalm 18 and 32 is one of my favorite scriptures to actually memorize and say out loud and to think to myself. It goes, "It is God that girdeth me with strength and maketh my way perfect." It is God that girdeth me with strength and maketh my way perfect. When you speak it out loud, as you probably already know, life and death are in the power of the tongue. You start to speak some kind of life over yourself. You start to extract some energy to gain it in, to tap into the true source that's going to actually give you that strength. It's going to equip you and make it your way perfect. That means it's all going to align with what he has in store for you. It's not perfect in the sense that everything goes exactly as planned. Everything plays out exactly how you think it will play out. No. You know, that way that's made perfect is going to have a whole lot of bumps and bumpy roads. It's going to have a whole lot of storms and a lot of flames, a lot of fire. There's going to be a furnace you have to sit in to actually build something inside of you that you can't always see right out the gate. You know, sometimes it takes a bit of time for us to get through the furnace, continue on the path, and be able to look back and see all these things that actually happened that in the moment I would have done anything to take them away. All of these things that happened were just, they were vital. They were critical to my path and who I'm becoming. Because there's a version of us who is far stronger than we can possibly imagine, who's far more obedient, whose faith is strengthened far more than where we are currently. There's a version of us who is unfathomable to who we are today. But we won't be able to meet that person if we're always, one, distracted, if there's too much noise going on, or if we constantly seek comfort, pleasure, all the things that most of us would rather lean into. If we can just avoid that stuff, at least for the time being, and walk the straight and narrow way where it's not going to be the most comfortable experience, then in the end, we will never regret doing the hard things. Because we all know the quote, if you take the easy route, you're going to have a hard life in the end. And if you take the hard route, you're going to have an easy life in the end. It's one of those cliche quotes that we hear so often, but it never really gets absorbed into us and internalized. It never really hits us in the way that it should hit us, because we just, it's just something that people say. Like, that takes away the weight of it. But anyways, I just wanted to give you a little bit of some encouragement. And if you made it to this point in the video, I appreciate you. And we're gonna continue the streak, man. We're gonna see how long we can do this for, because we did it with the short videos, and now it's time to do it with the longer videos. So I appreciate you again. You could have been doing anything else with your time. Anyways, to cut it short now, finally. Again, I'll see you in the next video. Adios for now.